Good guys, welcome back to another crime episode. Sorry you did not have any content for Monday or Wednesday or Friday. I really was so man down due to a cold. I'm a little congested still, but I just had to prepare for the next week. They gave me a little bit of time to really get this content together for you guys. Don't be mad at your girl. And that's why it's so important to follow me on Instagram or Facebook so you guys can keep up with me, because I notice a lot of people don't really utilize the community tab on here, so I don't really update it as much. But again, your girl feels really bad, so today is Sunday and we're gonna give you guys a great video. So again, please don't worry about all the code. My voice sounds crazy. So today we're going to be talking about the Grimm Sleeper. The Grimm Sleeper terrorized the Los Angeles area for a long time, y'all. And I surprisingly never heard of him. As I was doing my research for different cases, I came across him and I was like, this sounds really crazy. Let's talk about this. I could have heard about him like on a investigation discovery video or something, but again, sometimes you just really don't know a lot about the cases. So before I keep rambling my mouth, we're going to talk about Mr. Lonnie Franklin Jr., aka the Grimm Sleeper. So Lonnie thought he would just be out here killing in Los Angeles area, and when one of his victims survives, he takes a 14-year hiatus. But investigators and police were mistaken. When detectives found over 1,000 photos of unidentified women in his home, detectives began to believe that he did not actually take a hiatus, or sleeping in their terms. So Mr. Lonnie actually has a history. His first story begins when he enlisted into the military. Lonnie goes off to the military, of course, the army, where he is stationed in Germany. I always hear a lot about Germany. My best friend, my guy friend, he used to be stationed in Germany all the time, and he would always tell me how the women over there really love people that come to visit. This story begins on April 17th, 1974. Lonnie is stationed in Germany and he is with two other men at this time frame, right? He and two others kidnap a woman walking to the bus station. For kidnapping her, they asked this young lady for directions, just to kind of talk to her and start their prey of a night of terror. The young girl kind of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? So if a person asks you for directions, right? You're walking, you're minding your own business, it's late, you're trying to get to your destination, and a person asks you, hey, do you know where such and such is? And then when they ask you that question and they follow up with, can I give you a ride? That's when you need to put the foot to the pedal and run, find somewhere to go, or decline, also decline. But this poor young lady did not decline. She ends up getting in the vehicle with Lonnie and the two other. To her demise, they end up kidnapping her and raping her. She was brutally raped by each man, and she was also photos were taken of her. They then dropped her back off at her house. Lord have mercy, right? She was really smart with this. Before she got out of the vehicle, right? She kind of like, you know how like you kind of act like you're into things. So she kind of gets Lonnie to end up getting Lonnie to give her his phone number, which he gives her, which was crazy, right? So she was really smart, because after the incident occurred, she informed police officers, and they set up something where they were going to basically set up a plan of action to get Lonnie, because she had his phone number. So she ended up calling him to meet her at a location where, to his demise, police were waiting for that ass. So Lonnie was tried and he was convicted of rape and kidnapping, right? He was sentenced to 40 months in prison, but only served less than 1 year. And then a year later, he was given a discharge from the army. Detectives, as they started to backtrack Lonnie's story of the journey of him being the Grimm Sleeper, they believe this was the starting point of him being very interested in raping women, maybe killing them, and, you know, taking photos and stuff like that. It basically created the journey of him being the Grimm. So let's fast forward. Now Mr. Lonnie is a sanitation worker, so he has a lot of access to dumpsters, you know, city alleyways, things of that nature, where you can go and it's very accessible for you to just throw things away, right? Lonnie's first known victim was 29-year-old Deborah Jackson. Her body was discovered on August 10 of 1985. She had been shot 3 times in the chest and dumped in an alleyway. And a lot of detectives believe, since he was a sanitation worker, this is how much he really cared about the women, because when he would kill them, he would just automatically throw their bodies away. So he really didn't give a damn about these women. He just wanted to go on to this spree. But the crazy thing, in 1986, he married a young woman and they had 2 children together. So think about this. He killed someone a year before getting married and having 2 children. And a lot of times people don't realize, a lot of people who are killers or serial killers, they have a persona that they're really the neighbor next door, meaning they're a good person, you know, they seem very likable. And a lot of people express that Lonnie was a very liked man. He was very nice, he was very polite, you know, no one got a bad vibe from this man. Then in August of 1986, 34-year-old Henrietta Wright's body was found under a discarded mattress. The following year, a 23-year-old woman named Barbara Ware and 26-year-old Bernita Sparks and Mary Lowe were discovered. Sparks' body was found in a trash bin. And then in 1988, the bodies of 22-year-old, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing this right, Lucretia Jefferson and 18-year-old Alicia Alexander were found. These women were killed from a .25 caliber handgun. DNA from the same individual came from all of the women listed that I stated when they recovered their body. The thing about DNA back then wasn't as advanced as it is now, where we have CODIS and we have, you know, things that we can really pinpoint a lot of killers these days. So you have to think about, this is kind of why he got away for so long, because technology didn't evolve to what it is now. Police and detectives believe that he targeted like women who were poor, who were often by themselves. You know, he would target women in a manner where it was if like he didn't really care how they carried themselves, pretty much. So now we'll get to the one that got away. So in late November 1988, 30-year-old Henrietta Washington was walking to a friend's house when a black man in an orange Ford Pinto pulled up to her, offered her a ride, which she declined. He continued to press her to get into the vehicle and eventually snapped and said, that's when he eventually snapped, and I want to read this correctly. "That's what's wrong with you black women. People can't be nice to you." Like, excuse you, sir? Where she messed up at, she was tired of being pestered, she ended up getting into his vehicle. And almost immediately, he produced a handgun and took her against her will. As soon as she got into the vehicle, where they got to probably not even a block, he fired the handgun at her into the chest. And she was able to speak out and ask him, "Why did you shoot me?" And he stated, "Because you disrespected me." He then savagely raped her, took photos of her, and pushed her out of the car, leaving her to die. Miraculously, she fought and lived, y'all. Thank the heavens, right? It's sad that she had to go through what she did, but OMG, can you imagine like if she didn't live? Police were able to get the bullet from her chest, and they were able to compare it to the other cases that has been out there. From then, the detectives stated that this was the case that kind of put him on his toes, because they believed that he took a 14-year hiatus from killing, from what they believed. But then in March of 2002, a 15-year-old was discovered. She had been badly beaten, strangled, but she was not shot. That was the only difference from all the other cases, right? And then again in 2003, a 35-year-old woman was discovered killed in the same way. Both women had been dumped in an alleyway in SouthCentral of Los Angeles. Grimm Sleeper's 11th victim occurred in 2007. The body of a 25-year-old was discovered in the nude, and she was stuffed in a garage bag in a desert alleyway. He literally had no care, no remorse, no, what is the word that I'm looking for? It's like right here on my tongue. He just had no freaking care for human life, for these women's lives. Like, he didn't care if they had family, you know, like you just badly beaten them, raped them, like, Jesus. But the thing about the 25-year-old, this individual, he did in fact shoot her. DNA from her matched all the other crime scenes. In 2007, Bill Pratton, LA police commissioner, set up a task and received a lot of backlash because people in the community believed he did not care about the crimes that had taken place, especially because these crimes related to a lot of the other crimes. So of course, everyone was in their mind believing, or well, not believing, but knowing that there is in fact a serial killer. There was never any press for these killings. There was never anything that really gave them a voice. A journalist wrote about the Grimm Sleeper and basically called the commissioner out, basically stating he didn't care about this case because it happened in the poor community, and the women were black women. The victims were black women. She stated nobody with any pull, no homeowners association, no local chamber of commerce was demanding answers to 10 murders by the same guy in a poor section of town. In 2007, DNA has finally advanced, right? So they had so much information. They had ballistics, they had DNA, they had a complete sketch of the individual, right? Found at the, you know, and then they had a lot of DNA found at the crime scenes, each crime scenes, right? The DNA was finally entered into the felon database, and it came out with a match. Christopher Franklin, Lonnie Franklin Jr.'s son, who had been entered into the state database in 2008 after being arrested on felony weapons. Collect DNA from Lonnie Franklin Jr., the LAPD followed him to a birthday party. One officer posed as a busboy, and they were able to get his DNA from different cups and napkins, even a slice of pizza. DNA, in fact, came back to be a match of the 10 murdered women. Lonnie Franklin Jr. was arrested on July 7th of 2010. In the process of doing a search of his home, there was over 1,000 photos of unidentified women in his house. Many of them were in the nude, some beating and having blood on them. Some appeared to be unconscious or dead. Those of the Grimm Sleeper's 10 victims that were found, that is why authorities believed he never was technically sleeping in his 14-year hiatus, because there were so many photos of unidentified women, and you just never know if he had in fact killed them. LAPD later released over 180 photos found in Franklin's home in order to identify some of the victims that were unable to be identified or found. In February of 2016, the trial begins, and emotions were running very high. I couldn't even imagine, OMG. On May 5th of 2016, Lonnie Franklin Jr. was found guilty of 10 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. August 10th of 2016, Lonnie Franklin was sentenced to death. He became one of the 746 inmates on death row. The last person to be executed in the state was back in 2006. Washington was finally able to face the man who was her attacker. I couldn't imagine the rage, the hurt, the betrayal, you know, just the feelings of guilt. Like, I got into this man's car, you know, thinking that he was gonna help me, and here it is, he savagely beaten me, he raped me, he, you know, like, he left me for dead. And to come to terms with him from face to face is like mind-blowing. I couldn't even imagine the emotion that she probably felt that day. You know, like, you want to jump over, I know I probably want to jump over the dang on thing because I want to get to him and beat his ass. Well, now the Grimm Sleeper can get his damn rest, because now he can't terrorize no one anymore. It's just crazy. Like, he, you know, to do that to someone, and to women, period, is like, we were put here to love on each other, man. Like, dang. But, and then I was just looking at his photos. I was like, he just looked like the sick type, you know, like the type where if a woman don't want to give him any time of day, like, this is kind of like how it began, you know. Like, you have those people who feel like they're above it all. Like, I don't know. But that's the Grimm Sleeper story. Kind of crazy, kind of really terrorizing when you really think about it, because you just never know. It could be your neighbor. It could be someone you talk to. Like, people put on a persona. I'm trying to tell you guys this. Like, people who don't listen to me when I say, I examine folks, I analyze you. So when you enter my space, it's like I'm doing a 3D print of what you got on, what you look like. And I ask my friends this, like, when you go out, do you pay attention to your surroundings? Because it could be life or death, you know, when it boils down to it. You know, if something were to happen to you, will you remember the small details, you know? And that's just something I really want you guys to take with you. Always be aware of your surroundings. Always say no. If you don't know that person, no. I mean, some people may have a good heart, but sometimes you just have to just chug it for what it is and keep it pushing, because we live in a world now where you don't really have nice people trying to give you rides. And he killed for a long time. So, yeah. But guys, that was the Grimm Sleeper story. Let me know if you guys have any other stories you want me to check out. Again, I do have a submission box, so you can just send whatever story you like for Sundays. Excuse me. Sundays is the designated day where I talk about different crime cases. Monday is designated for a missing person. So if you have missing person cases, don't forget to send me something so we can get you guys going. So don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. Come join the family. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So until the next crime video, guys, I will see you